Hello, my name's Steve and I'm an alcoholic. My sobriety date is August 14th, 1986. So that was a long time ago, at least in my life. And want to thank Lara for giving me this opportunity to tell a little bit about my story. Um, I started drinking probably heavily sophomore in high school and drank for 20 years. And I think drank every day for those 20 years, except maybe the time I was in Marine Corps boot camp. I loved it from my first drink. It changed me. And after high school, I went into the Marine Corps. I had got in trouble there with the drinking. Got out of the Marine Corps. So I was about 22 then or so, and by then I had a wife, and my first child ended up having three more kids, and my life revolved around drinking. And in that time, I was in the sales profession, and I made a lot of money, plenty of money for me to raise my kids and my family. Um, Although I was really, really immature with my money in financial matters, I figured I just knew everything. So by the time I got to AA, I was um, involved in an affair with a woman down the street who also had four kids. My business was um, the income was still good, but the debt I had racked up was staggering. My wife was sick of the life I was creating for my family. Um, in Bill's story, they call it quicksand in every direction. Um, I'm just kind of skipping over the drinking part because I was an alcoholic, I was a drunk, but a functioning drunk. I figured I couldn't be alcoholic because I made a lot of money. And besides that, I was pretty smart. I just knew everything. Okay, so I come into AA, and the way my story goes, after my first meeting, I didn't miss a AA meeting or a day with an AA meeting for at least 3 years. And I I didn't think too much about the steps because they were on the wall. I mean, how hard is it? How hard is it to read the steps? And when you pretty much know everything, um, I didn't I didn't get involved in the steps. I was one of those people that hung out in AA, made new friends in AA, and got sicker and sicker and sicker, but didn't know it and couldn't figure it out because I was going to a meeting every day. In the meantime, my wife divorced me. Um, Other areas of my life that I couldn't put off anymore, like the financial aspects, just came crashing in, and I was um, I was in a life situation that I didn't think had a solution to, and yet I couldn't figure it out because I was going to AA, and in my mind, I was a good AAer. I didn't drink, went to meetings, made friends, talked to people. Um, in fact, I even had a couple of sponsees that I was happy to tell them what they should do with every area in their life, which they didn't do, and you know how that story goes. So after about 3 years in AA, I was, well, the way the story goes was I was asked to speak at a speakers meeting, and I couldn't believe it. One, I couldn't believe it took AA so long to ask me to speak in front of a group of people because, again, I thought I knew everything. And so I got up, and whatever you had at this 3 year birthday meeting, says August of '89. Um, you're supposed to tell your story. You get about 10 minutes or whatever. And so I pretty much told everybody what they should be doing to be leading a better life. And at the end, everybody clapped and they said thank you. And I didn't know this about AA at the time, that if you think about it, if you've ever been to a speaker meeting, it doesn't matter what you say up there at the podium. When you're finished, everybody claps and says thank you. Of course, in my mind, it was the beginning, it was going to be the beginning of a career of AA speaking. People actually applauded what I had to say. And also, it's very common because it's a kindness in AA. When a speaker comes down from the podium, people will come up to him and say, geez, I really like what you had to say, thank you. And I had the two or three people, whatever, that were saying that to me, and it made me feel so good. It was the best day I'd had in AA ever. And then this one guy kind of hung back a little bit, and like he was waiting his turn. And so finally I said, hey. And he said, I really listened to what you had to say, Steve. And I said, thank you. And I was thinking, as you should listen to what I had to say, because, after all, I got 3 years. And he said, do you mind if I say something? And I said, no, go ahead. What? I thought he was going to ask my advice on some life issues. And he said, bullet, bridge, or rope. And I said, well, what are you talking about? And he said, I'm just wondering what method you've been thinking of offing yourself. And I remember my blood ran a little bit cold. I said, whoever says that at the AA meeting? I said, what are you talking about? And he said, Steve, if you don't mind me saying, which I did mind, he said, I think you're dying of alcoholism. And I kind of shook my head and I thought, oh boy, this guy needs some talking to, because he must not have heard the 10 or 15 times I mentioned that I now have 3 years. And I said, what are you talking about? And he said, do you know that you can recover from this disease? And I said, what are you talking about? Because in my mind, nobody recovers from alcoholism. They just stay in recovery. And so I wanted to educate him on that. And he said, actually, that's not Alcoholics Anonymous' position at all. They wrote a whole book on how to recover from alcoholism, and they put it on the title page. In fact, they call Alcoholics Anonymous the story of how many thousands of men and women have recovered from alcoholism. And he said, are you interested in getting well? And the best I could come up with was, besides like, who the hell do you think you are? And I said, how much time do you have? And he said, well, I've got 2 years. And I said, what can you teach me? And he said, I can teach you how to get well. I can show you what I did, and I can show you what they did in the book. Okay, so my life changed then in August of '89. And in the decades since, I've never put the book down as far as reading it and reading it with other alcoholics. And it's been an alive way to live. And my experience in AA up to right now, which I'm actually in a little closet right now in a back room of the intergroup headquarters in Seattle, is it's about getting well. It's about having a fundamentally good, abundant life. And what it took for me was a kind member of Alcoholics Anonymous that saw where I was in life and was willing to take me through the steps and show me what Alcoholics Anonymous really is. And so that's what I want to model in my life too, is extend the same life-saving kindness that was shown me, that anyone can recover from this disease. It's just like with me, I had to get to the point where I could draw a sane, sober conclusion that my way wasn't working, and enough willingness to believe there is a way that does work. So thank you for the opportunity to tell a little bit of my story. Bye.